Welcome to the White Wall Sessions Radio. I'm your host, Dan Schaefer. On this week's episode, we feature Pleasure Horse, Ultraviolet Fever, and the Union Grove Pickers. If you'd like to know more about the artists on the show, visit thewhitewallsessions.com for features, links, and videos. Pleasure Horse is a 5-piece Americana band from Minneapolis, Minnesota, with roots here in South Dakota. Their brand of country rock had the whole studio moving in their seats. The band is Cody Brown on drums, Alex Penez on bass, Celeste Huell on keys, Tim Evanson on guitars and vocals, and Ben Mahold on guitar and vocals.
On the day we moved out west, Daddy hadn't any work. He scraped a living, put seeds in the dirt. Then he died in '85. We spent the afternoon at church, praying about his life for whatever it was worth. All he wanted was to get back home, lay his head down on a pillow. Wish he made it long ago, to be buried back in Baltimore. Well, little Marianne, she just couldn't understand the forces that took Pa and the trouble at hand. Then she took a look outside and saw the big clouds rolling in. The road would be long and our chances were thin. All he wanted was to get back home, lay his head down on a pillow. Wish he made it long ago, to be buried back in Baltimore. Now defenseless on the fence, our mama moaned for days, 'cause we had to lay him down there in the Beulah clay. And although it weren't his home, that hole was just a place. Our troubles just begun, he's gone where he lay. All he wanted was to get back home, lay his head down on a pillow. The wish he made it long ago, to be buried back in Baltimore. Just to be buried in Baltimore. Thank you so much.
I'm going to talk about your sound, because that sort of, don't even know what you call it, Americana. It doesn't really need to have a name, but it's sort of, to me, started with like maybe Graham Parsons or something. And it's kind of, ever since then, every generation of music, there's sort of, it's still there. Sort of the Jerry Jeff Walker Gonzo days, maybe the Long Riders in the 80s, Jayhawks in the 90s. I mean, it just doesn't go away, thankfully. How did you guys grow up listening to that, or when did you come to it?
Yeah, Jerry Jeff Walker is a big one that my dad was a huge fan of. So I hated it when I was a kid, but it was always on, and so I had it in me, but I didn't. You know, it took a long time before I sort of was okay with the idea of liking it. And funny you should mention Graham Parsons, because actually when I first moved to Minneapolis around 2011, Alex and I were in a band together called the Flying Dorito Brothers.
Oh, that's good.
So there's
a great band.
Yeah. So there's some definite influences there. Learning those songs and playing those songs. And
interesting you say that you sort of kind of under the pillow listen to this kind of thing, don't want to tell anyone. I mean, because it kind of has a stigma as old country stuff, but it's still really good. Is that the same for all of you guys? Have you listened to that kind of music in Celeste, or were you kind of don't let anyone know that I'm listening to this?
Would you guys say that?
I grew up, my dad listened to a lot of older, more traditional sort of country and westerns kind of stuff, and I don't know, I've always resonated with that. I'm learning a lot of new stuff these days.
I mean, I never really got into that side of like 60s, 70s country, but it's more classic rock, and my dad plays a banjo, and
boy, does he.
He does.
He rips it up.
He does rip.
Denny Mahold.
Denny Mahold rips on the banjo, and really like introduced me to a lot of old bluegrass, and from like Irish sea shanties to like hymnals to all sorts of things,
Irish sea shanties?
Yeah, you gotta come by one of my family parties sometime. We'll do some.
Is that like
acapella
river dance?
stuff. No, that's
It's
acapella.
seated. It's seated
like
and
seated,
vocalized
yeah.
river dance.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, seated and vocalized.
Yeah.
I see.
So was it
come next time.
the love of that kind of music that got you guys together, love of playing, and when you started, did you say this is the kind of music we want to play, or and build it around that sound, or did the sound come after you?
I think I asked what.
Yeah, no, it wasn't super intentional. There was a time I was good friends with a banjo player in college, and we started playing bluegrass tunes together, just busking on the sidewalk between the bars in Vermilion.
Awesome.
And and so that just kind of like snowballed a little bit, and you got a banjo involved, so then it's got a direction already.
So who writes the songs then?
That's this guy.
Yeah, I do.
Pretty much Tim. And you, what is your songwriting process? You're
I'd
acoustic
love,
guitar, I suppose.
yeah, I'd love to know.
Lay that out for us.
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah, I'm curious.
It's usually starts with just a very small, maybe a vocal line or a guitar part, and then it's generally pretty laborious, just like going after it and just picking away at it for a long period of time. Every once in a while, you'll have one that kind of lightning bolts you, but
Yeah.
usually it's just a lot of hard work to get all the pieces to fit together.
I assume they were just perfect every time, right?
Oh,
out of the
well,
gate.
yeah.
Do you start with sort of a little hook or a melody or something, and then the song sort of builds, or is there something you want to say and lyrics come first?
Usually the lyrics sort of come after the, a melody or something. But every once in a while there'll be a song where it's more story based, and I'll start with that and then kind of try to write an appropriate accompaniment to that.
And then you bring it to the band, kind of just as a skeleton, and they start filling in.
Yep.
Or do you hear
we hold sectionals every once in a while. Just whoever's able to meet up and sort of start getting the skeleton of the song together.
Celeste, you write some songs too, right?
I do, yeah.
And do you ever write them for this band, or you kind of write on your own, different projects?
Well, originally Tim joined my band, and then
The dominoes started falling.
yeah, he was filling a member who had left their
It's actually
position.
funny. So the member that left that band that I replaced is the same member that left this band that Alex is replacing. So
All right, I'm getting really confused.
it's a dirty web, I tell you.
And I play in her band too, so
Right.
You playing,
Right.
He's a drummer.
and you two played in a band years ago.
Yep.
We were in a Dolly Parton band. Us three.
Oh, that's true.
Oh yeah,
We were called Dolly Patron.
Dolly Patron. Yeah.
that happened.
Another great band.
Where
Very
do,
funny.
where do I go from here?
Yeah. Dolly Parton. Didn't think Dolly Parton would come up, but
We did a backyard production of that. That was
yeah, 9 to
fantastic.
5. Did a whole theatrical recreation of the movie 9 to 5 with us as the backing band. It was
played
phenomenal.
Dolly?
Our friend Jessica Buns.
Yeah, another person from South Dakota.
That
Yeah.
he knew from way back. She was Huron.
Yeah,
right?
she's from Huron.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, it gets pretty messy.
When South Dakotans end up in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
everyone says stay away from them because they.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they'll make you play tambourine or something.
You have 3 albums, right?
1 full length and 2 EPs.
2 EP. Where'd you record those?
The very first one, well, actually, the first EP and the first full length we recorded in my attic. My roommate was sort of trying to get his footing with sound production and was interested in experimenting, and a few of the band members lived at the house, so we just recorded it there.
Nice.
That's where the rawness comes from on those early records. And then the most recent one that came out in January, we recorded in Northfield, Minnesota. Whoops, and that was all done on tape. So it was a very live kind of go in and do a pretty much a live performance and try to get the bulk of it done that way with minimal overdubs.
Sure.
Um,
Because if you're going on tape, they kind of want. They don't want.
You got to
much-
decide. You got to make decisions.
It's not
terrible.
like just right click delete or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's on tape.
Yeah,
now.
pressure's on.
So, do you prefer doing it that way? Just coming in the band, kind of playing it live, or do you like?
That's usually how we start anyway. We've since recorded some more songs that were, just kind of in the mixing phase of now, where we did pretty much the same thing with like drums, bass, try to get the bulk of the rhythm section, and anything else that we can get in that first take is always nice, because then you don't have to go back and do too much extra work.
Because that's the heart of the song anyway, right?
Right, yeah, ideally.
Lost on the mountain, looking for the track. No through the saddle, should have brought me back. But then something split up my hair wall and slowed my descent to a crawl. When I asked the man with the beard of snow just exactly which way I should go, said try back up the hill to the lower of the lakes. Don't waste your time, man, don't be late. When those fishermen put out their lines, they're gonna show you a hell of a time. Hey, what happened to that man with the beard of snow? Just exactly which way did he go? The coupe and coming back. There goes my ticket to finding the track. If I don't get back by the curtain call, there's no telling how much rain will fall. There's no telling how much rain will fall. There's no telling how much rain will fall. Come down. far from Echo Lake could I be? I got an army of marmots following me, and I hope I didn't need to drink their wine. They sure did show me a hell of a time. But I think that there is something they should know, that I found my way back as flies the crow. Now that I'm reaching the end of my feet, a mighty water blisters cover my feet. I hope 20 years didn't just pass me by. I never should have touched old Rip's moonshine. I never should have touched old Rip's moonshine. I never should have touched old Rip's moonshine.
Ultraviolet Fever is a 4-piece folk, blues, and soul band based out of Sioux City, Iowa. The band is Angie Lambrick on guitar, ukulele, percussion, and vocals, Sean Blomberg on bass, guitar, ukulele, and vocals, Adrian Colbo on guitar and vocals, and Randall Wood on keys. With stunning 3-part harmonies, Ultraviolet Fever filled the studio with their soulful songs.
cold and weathered, it's time that you take a stand. Find yourself some warmer pleasures and stop working for the man, and take your time to find the answers. It's alright to map out a new plan, and if you find it hard to love, I can be right here when you can. So shake it up, twist it down, let's go dancing all over town. Just me and you. We'll laugh a lot, forget to stop, and maybe we'll find out some love between me and you. Between me and you, between me and you, well, between me and you. Well, now let me tell you all my secrets. I could just listen all the same. You know, I would love to have you over. I could just kiss away your pain. Oh, but now my world keeps on turning, and I'm still breaking through this game. So let me rid myself of this evil, and let's just let this whole world spin and shake it up and twist it down. and you, between me and you, between me and you.
When we talked to Sean in season 2, he mentioned his travel, sort of parts unknown era of his life. And he said we went there with a buddy. You're the buddy that he went with, right?
Yeah. So I was going to school in Indianapolis. I was playing music and studying music, and Sean being one of my best buddies from the neighborhood growing up. I mean, since we were 11 or 12, and we started. I picked up a guitar. I'd played piano as a kid and played classical piano and stuff like that growing up. And then I found a guitar and started playing, and I taught Sean a couple chords. He grabbed my chord book and went crazy, and we kind of started writing music together. And it was this healthy competition kind of thing where I would write a song and he'd show me his song, and that was really good, But yeah, so we've been writing music since, together since we were like 13. When I moved to go to school, I invited him out and just said, "Hey, you got to come out here and we'll play music together."
And that was in Seattle?
In Indianapolis.
Oh, Indianapolis.
And then from Indianapolis, we did a record in Indianapolis with a band called Thief in the Night, and then recorded that, and then kind of decided that we looked at Nashville and Seattle, and we got kind of courted really well by Seattle, so we decided to go out there. Yeah. So Sean and I moved out to Seattle within months of each other, and then kind of embarked on that next journey.
And then did you kind of split up after a few years in Seattle, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I think there was kind of a lot of pressure. We had put out an album, our first album in Indianapolis, and we kind of thought, we were ready to hit the big time or something. And we got out to Seattle, where it's just, it's pretty cold. It can be to new people, I think, if you don't know the right people. And it was
takes a lot of years to develop relationships that will help support the things that you want to do, and so I think when we first got out there, it was just a lot of pressure. We didn't really have the connections that we used to have, and so things kind of fell apart. And so within about a year and a half, I left and went back to Indianapolis and did a solo record just under my own name called Cast, and we just kind of did what we both needed to do at the time and kind of split up. And we've always stayed connected, and then I moved back to Seattle after 3 years, and Sean was still there, and so he and our paths have just always crossed back, with each other. And there's this musical connection for sure that is, magnetic, and so I was just telling them before the show today, that out of everything that I've done musically, this iteration of what we do, and this band and the harmonies and just the song structures and the things that we're doing is the most rewarding. It's really a really fun band to be in. So
second that.
So you ended up back in Sioux City, and then you met Angela. Angela, I got to say, I was talking to your mother, and she said when you heard music when you were a little girl, you said, "Mama, I can feel the music from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet." So you grew up in a musical household, and you just held on to it and never let go?
Yeah, it was the only thing that ever made me feel right.
What did you grow up listening to?
I grew up listening to country, grew up listening to rock and roll, back and forth through those. I got a hold of my dad's record collection when I was in high school, and that really flipped it, So I really early on was like country and like some, churchy songs that my mom was really into, and then I got a hold of my dad's record collection and got turned on to like the Rolling Stones and Bad Company and Jimi Hendrix and Janis, and so I really fled from there. I was like, this is cool stuff, I had a turntable, just thought it was the bee's knees listening to this rock and roll in the basement.
Well, that explains it. And I got to say, a strong female voice with soothing male backing voices is just such a unique combination. I mean, certainly you think of Janis Joplin. I think of a Maria McKee from Lone Justice, even Stevie Nicks, I think. That is a special sound. I mean, it's really cool sound. Did you just find that in this band, or was that always kind of in the back of your head?
I've always it's definitely always been in the back of my head. Not necessarily that it had to be male or female, but just in general, harmonies have always been in the back of my head. And it really just fell together very naturally that this is kind of the bed that we landed on, which has been very, very cool.
I think Sean and I spent, all those years trying to, because he and I would do a lot of like parallel harmony and kind of modeled a lot of what we did off of, I'd say like a lot of, Lennon McCartney type, early Lennon McCartney harmonies and stuff. And so things like that for us, it took us years to, to really have that like timbre of voice with each other, and where it really sounded great. But then adding Angela and, us coming into Angela's songs and working on her tunes and doing 3-part with her. I mean, it was like that. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I am but a visitor here, and heaven is my home. And when my work here on earth is done, God will call me home. And this is the reason that I tell it all to you. I am but a visitor here, and heaven is my home. Well, miss me and cry, or cry real tears, 'cause that's what I'd like you to do. And then very soon, smile and think of me, 'cause I'm in heaven, and I'm free at last of pain and suffering. It will be great, so won't you please believe. But I'll miss out on things down here. God gave Charlie and I true love for 57 years. And together we built our lives, one by one, oh Lord, until there were 5 beautiful children, to each their own. There's never a dull moment in the harder home. But I am but a visitor here, heaven is my home. And when my work here on earth is done, God will call me home. And this is the reason that I tell it all to you. I am but a visitor here, and heaven is my home. Now I'll be smiling when it's my time to leave. And I wish happiness and good health to each. Now be kind to one another, and you will enjoy many friends. Oh, and please believe in Him so we can meet again in heaven. You know I'm ready to go with Jesus, 'cause He will take me home. But I am but a visitor here. Heaven is my home. And when my work here on earth is done, God will call me home. And this is the reason I tell it all to you. I am but a visitor here, and heaven is my home. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The Union Grove Pickers are a 5-piece string band from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. A staple in the local music scene, the band is Aaron Castle on guitar and vocals, Travis Jameson on bass and vocals, Megan DeBoer on guitar and vocals, Josh Rick on mandolin, guitar and vocals, and Tim Jewell on guitar and vocals.
I'll always love you with all of my heart. I'm thinking of you whenever we're apart. The flowers, they are blooming. Spring is on the way. The birdies are singing. What do they say? We sit together under the maple tree. I'd sit here forever if you were here with me. With all of me, I'll love you sweetly. Let the sun shine today. Darling, please stay. It's you I adore forever and more.
you've got 3 albums, and one of those albums was on different folk label. Can you talk to us about that? How, what was that like doing a local label?
Well,
Do you want it from the label angle or the band angle?
Josh and I are part of the label, and I mean it's basically kind of how the label started. When we were younger, when I was younger, with a different group of friends, we did something similar, and the idea was that everyone's records would pay for the next band's records, and that always worked out pretty well. So we just wanted to start off with this local-ish or regional. It's like South Dakotan music for the most part. Actually, all of them are. All the first 7 inches are, I think.
Well, Jack.
Oh, yeah, Jack's in Minneapolis. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of how it happened. There wasn't really any discussion about it. It was like, all right, well, we need to record for this album, or we need to record for this single, so let's do that.
The label as a stamp on the back of our record existed before the label as a structure did.
Yeah.
So we kind of, on our first record, the first record that we used that on was Great Plains Drift, and so we decided we wanted to start doing something like that. So we, put the label stamp on it, and then it just kind of sat for a while. We didn't really do anything with it until, it was like a year later where we finally started talking with some other folks and put a label together proper. So that didn't, the record kind of spawned the label a year down the road.
Okay. What does a local record label mean to the music scene? Is that, you're trying to promote the local music, or are they coming to you, or are you going to find others?
I think we're still trying to figure that out, what it means to the local scene.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
And I know that some of the people have come to you and you've gone to some people. So
Yeah,
to answer
a little
that
of
question
both.
directly, it's a little of both.
Well, and so far, we've been seeking out enough stuff and planning out our releases that way. So it kind of sucks because people are coming to us, but we're a small operation. We can only do so much stuff in a given year. So it's I'm sorry, we've got our next year laid out already, and with vinyl turnaround times are so bad. They're so slow. It's getting a little better as more record pressing plants are coming online. Finally, the first new record plant was built in 50 years, finally.
Really?
Yeah. And somebody finally redesigned the record pressing machines. All this technology was dying, and people were buying old record presses as parts machines to fix their presses.
Wow.
So finally now, with this most recent kind of resurgence in vinyl, that the industry has been revived. So it's starting to speed up a little bit, but people will come to us with a record that they want to put out. It's well, if you want vinyl, you're going to wait 6 months. Do you want to wait 6 months to put out your record that's done? And a lot of times the answer is no. So you have to kind of plan for it from the very beginning.
Well, it's got to be pretty interesting watching a record spin around and your music coming out of it. Because it's fun listening to the album anyway, but being able to have your own has got to be a pretty cool thing.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. What are your plans for the summer? Are you touring at all? Things going on in the band, and maybe some pauses going to take place, or
Yeah, we're recording right now. We're just kind of taking that really easy. Every time we've recorded, we've had a deadline of some sort. So this time we don't. So we're really just kind of trying to enjoy that. It's like a slippery slope because it's almost like you kind of need one to, so it doesn't get out of control. 4 years later, we have an album done or something like that. But it was nice we worked on, I think we have everything kind of fleshed out now. So we just need to start getting back to that. And obviously, that's our next goal. Really?
Yeah, having this built-in break, why not use it to write and record and do stuff till we're ready to do it again.
Yeah.
Where have you recorded the last few albums?
We've done them all ourselves.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. Well, our first one we got some help from a friend, but we've done the last 2 full lengths by ourselves.
Really interesting. How is what's that like? So you're engineering it and mixing it and mastering it and playing.
Mike
it.
Dresch mastered for us.
And he did the mix on Great Plains Drift.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool. Play lots of Tetris and
while you're waiting for the individual.
Have adult beverages.
Yeah.
There was a snowstorm one night when we recorded. I think that's the one that always sticks in my mind.
Yeah, and when you're not paying for time, the professional studio, what you're paying for is 100% worth it. Because Like the overhead to have that kind of stuff and like the quality that you get from it is incredible. But when we can do it at home and we can be pretty, we can just kind of have a lot of fun with it, not be like, well, we're on somebody else's time, or we're paying by the hour, so we can just kind of, you can take 20 takes if you want to, or.
Well, case in point is that we spend a shocking amount of time playing around with auto-tune. I mean, you would be surprised how often.
And never use it.
But
Really.
it's
Never
so
use it,
funny.
but we play with it a lot.
Just for fun.
It's kind of like a toy, isn't it?
It's the best.
To the point where sometimes we'll hear these songs like as we're practicing, and all I can hear is the auto-tune version in my mind. Just, you can't help but laugh while you're playing.
Well, that must be, being able to relax and do it at your pace kind of changes, right? Or do you think there is like you were saying earlier, maybe a deadline is necessary at some point?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, obviously with two new mothers in the band, like we all want to nurture that, and like it's family first for us no matter what. So like right now that's, recording is kind of just on the back burner, and that's okay with all of us. But the way we do it, a lot of times too, is that you don't always need 5 people in the studio to get stuff done, So like we can start kind of working on some stuff, and we'll do some stuff kind of individually, and then there, whenever we start discussing vocals or certain auxiliary instruments and stuff like that, that's when we really come together as a whole. I mean, even our first album, before there was any children or something, that's kind of how we did it. Some sessions it's all 5 of us. Some it might just be 2, one guy to run the board and one to record.
So where is the studio? Is it one of your houses?
It's
also been a different place every time.
Yeah.
Really?
Currently, it's at my house. We did the last album at Tim's. One before that at my place. One before that at Tim's.
Yeah.
Well, you all have been in a different variety of bands in their past, right? Tim, did you play, what kind of metal, what kind of music did you play?
Tim?
I definitely played heavier music when I was young. Punk music. Guess that's what happens when you get old. I still enjoy listening to a lot of that, which I think really shocks a lot of people. I've listened to all kinds of stuff. Been listening to a lot of gangster rap lately. I find it very inspiring for this band.
How about you, Megan? You worked some projects with Burlap Wolf King and
Yeah, doing that one currently as well as this, and kind of more indie stuff when I was younger, and then I went to school and got an opera and piano degree. Really different from a lot of the things that I did after that and before that, but kind of stuff. This is, I think, the easiest, like as far as writing stuff. This band has come the easiest for me.
The corner born and raised, we're hard-working people, yeah, we grew up on the plains. Just because the sun's gone down don't mean the work is done. Sure as shit don't mean we don't know how to have some fun. Oh, honey, we grew up on the plains. We had a real harsh winter, but
If you'd like to know more about the artists we feature, visit thewhitewallsessions.com. The White Wall Sessions Radio is recorded and produced at Last Stop Studios in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Last Stop Studios is located in the lower level of the Last Stop CD Shop at 2121 East 10th Street in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Executive producers are Jeff Zuger and Doug Taylor. Head of Broadcast Engineering is Dave Palmer. Audio technicians are Chad Conrad, Carl Koiser, and Dave Palmer. Audio mixing is Chad Conrad. Associate producer is Michael Yeager. Scheduling and sales is Tom Eisner. I'm your host, Dan Schaefer. Join us again next week for another edition of the White Wall Sessions Radio.